Welcome to the Complete Creative Podcast for passionate creatives who want to live well, create on purpose, and feel satisfied in every way. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Complete Creative Podcast. And today I wanted to start with just thinking about a moment that I've had where I've had like so many ideas and I don't know what to do with them and they feel kind of overwhelming. And I'm afraid I'm going to lose track of them. Or like, what if I don't act on them right away? It used to be that I was afraid of my ideas flitting away. And so I would feel the need to act on an idea right away because otherwise it was going to like disappear. And that's not really the energy that I want to have in my world, in my creative life. And especially when I go to work on an idea or bring an idea to life is pursuing it with like a scared energy. And what I've learned is there's a better way. I don't need to anymore work on something because I'm afraid it's going to disappear or the momentum of the idea is going to somehow fall away. So today we're going to talk about ideas. Where do they come from? What to do with them? Why you don't want to keep them in your head? And how to know when to decide to create or bring one into reality. So first, let's talk about where do ideas come from? There's a lot of opinions about where these come from. I'm not quite sure. I feel like they're swirling around all of the time. There's like always inspiration coming to us is what I believe. And some of the times that these ideas come to me is when I'm actually still or my body is in motion and I'm allowing my mind to almost do nothing. So like in the shower, have you had ideas come to you in the shower? So many ideas come to me in the shower. Okay, while walking, I recorded an episode on walking. I'll link that in the notes. And there's something about walking, the pattern of the footsteps, the movement of your body that is inviting to new ideas, to giving ideas a fertile place to land. Sometimes they happen for me in the middle of the night, or even when I'm falling asleep, like I'm drifting off to sleep, because it's like I'm only half lucid. So I don't have that thinking brain on. It's like an open heart kind of a scenario. I want to reference a couple of quotes here about where ideas come from and what other creatives have to say about this. So Elizabeth Gilbert, in her book, Big Magic, if you haven't read this book, it's very interesting. Most of it I totally agree with. A few things I don't, but that's the beautiful thing about reading a book. Or you're interacting with someone else and you don't have to treat what they say as 1,000% truth. So I like fully agreeing and sometimes disagreeing with people that write books that I'm interested in. Okay, so Elizabeth Gilbert says in Big Magic says, ideas are a disembodied, energetic life form. I'm like looking around me, like, are they swirling around right now? She says they're completely separate from us, but capable of interacting with us, albeit strangely. She actually talks about how when one chooses to land on us, we need to like capture it in some way. So it's almost like they're beings, like they choose us. And I find that fascinating. And I'm still working out how I feel about that one. That's one of those, I'm not quite sure, So Rick Rubin, he wrote a book called The Creative Act, which I love. It's a cool book to just open and read. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cover-to-cover book. anyway, if you haven't read this one, I also highly recommend it. He says, think of the universe as a constant broadcast of ideas. So like this feels like a similar concept, right? So he says, think of the universe as a constant broadcast of ideas and the artist as a radio. Our job is to tune in and translate. So I probably agree with that idea a little bit more. Like there are ideas all about, and what comes to us depends on the frequency that we're operating in. It depends on, are we ready? What are we open to? What are we ready for? I know ideas that I get now, that I receive now, wouldn't have come to me 3 years ago. The inspiration and the ideas that come to us will change over time. So another quote by Elizabeth Gilbert is, you can clear out all the space in your head by writing down every idea you get, even the bad ones. Ideas want to be made manifest. So to this end, I want to tell you about what I do with my ideas because I feel it's important to give them a space to honor all of them that come to me. That feels important. So I want to talk here about how I went from feeling overwhelmed with my ideas and this energy of being afraid of not acting on the ideas to where I am now, which feels like a really open space. It feels very abundant. Like I have an abundance of ideas and I honor them in a variety of ways. What changed for me was when I really did what Elizabeth Gilbert suggests, which is write them down. And I write them in something called a someday maybe list. A few years ago, I started implementing a system called Getting Things Done. It's from a brilliant man named David Allen. And he has a whole system of how to get things done. So I've implemented a lot of that in my life. So I'm more like calm and less chaotic since I've done this. And I implemented it in my own way. Like I don't do everything that he says that you should do. And that's fine with me. One of the most important things that I do within this system is called a someday maybe list. So when an idea comes to me, I'm not afraid I'm going to lose it. I will make a powerful decision to either decide to write it on my someday maybe list right away, or I may sit and explore. I kind of get a little bit passionate about my ideas or a little bit obsessive actually. And I'll allow myself time to be in the momentum of the idea and do research and be indulgent about exploring the idea, allowing it to sit for just a little bit in my mind, in my heart, and kind of roll it around, like if you're tasting something and you put it in your mouth and you kind of savor it for just a little while. That's kind of what I do when an idea comes to me. So I savor it up for a little while. And I let the passion of the idea kind of take me down a little rabbit hole. Like I allow myself to do the rabbit hole and I don't make myself wrong for doing it. So I go down the rabbit hole and then I go, okay, this feels like enough. Do I want to work on this now or do I want to work on this later? And I just check in. And usually it's like, yes, later. And I put it on my someday maybe list. And sometimes I will make a decision not to put it on the list at all. Nope, I don't like it, but I gave it a little bit of time and space. So if an idea comes to me when I'm like in the shower or on a walk, I will write it down or capture it in some way. This is also from the Getting Things Done system. David Allen says you want a way to capture what comes to you. So if it's an idea, if it's something on a to-do list, like I have a digital space, I capture things. Sometimes I will like write them down on a paper. It'll just depend. But however, like we want to somehow capture them. And so if I don't have time to work on it right away, I will put it in a note to be addressed at a very future date and time. usually I'll look at it weekly, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. And I'm not saying you have to do this getting things done system. I'm just saying, like, why not have a place to honor your ideas, to write them down, to give them space, to explore them a little, you know? Also, I want to say here, like, for me, this isn't like a parking lot. It's like an idea garden. So some things won't feel right in the moment. Some things I'll feel like, oh, I need to implement that now. Like, I want to implement that now. And then some ideas I can either get rid of right away because I'm like, no, that doesn't feel right, but I like enjoyed the having of the idea. Or I'll wait for a little bit thinking I might work on it in the future. And that future will come and I'll think, no, I don't see a time where it will ever be right. And I will let it go. I'll let it go in a way that is more like of the Elizabeth Gilbert idea, which is like I release it so it can fly to someone else. And I also like thinking about it like that. So I guess I think of ideas in such a variety of ways. So here's the thing. You don't want to house all your ideas in your head. You just don't. For one, it takes energy to hold all of these ideas in your head. A little hint to what's coming up on the next episode. But if you decide to hold the ball, you are going to need to review them often. You're going to think about them all the time, or more often than not, while you sort through. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to expend all the energy that it would take to house all the ideas in my head. Because once I put it on my someday maybe list, I know when I'm going to come back and look at that list, and I don't need to think about the idea again in a way that's like, oh, I got to remember that. Oh, don't forget that, Brie. It's more of like, if it comes to me, it's like, I wonder what that would be like to work on versus like being afraid I'm going to lose it. There's a low-key pressure and energetic clutter happening when you try to house them all internally. So if we don't want to house all these ideas or like keep track of all these ideas in our minds where we might have like scattered focus, it's going to suck some of our really precious energy. Then what do we do with them? Well, I told you I keep mine on a someday maybe list, and I just have a system for that. But like, there's such a variety of ways because we are creative thinkers. There's such a variety of ways to be able to do this and honor the ideas when they come to us. You could have a stack of index cards and a pen, and whenever something comes to you, you write it down on the card and then you post it on the wall. Or you keep that somewhere, right? Like in a box. And so then you can go through later and just check it out, right? That's fun. That sounds really fun. I don't do that, but I'm like picturing what that would look like. Oh my gosh, especially if you're very visual and you like visual reminders, you know, then what's coming to me is if you have all these on the wall, then and with a pen close by and something comes to you that might go with the idea, you can also make a note on the card. That's really fun. I'll sometimes go back into my someday maybe list and do that. By the way, I keep my someday maybe list in Evernote as a project. I love, love, love Evernote. Ever since I got Evernote, it's a app for like your computer and your phone, and they all sync together, and I have access to it anywhere I go. It's like an amazing platform. Okay, so the other thing you can do is voice memos. You could just make voice memos and then go back and listen or get the transcripts of them. Just some way of capturing the idea. So I know that people do voice memos for that reason. You could also do, instead of like the index cards on the wall, you could do sticky notes. That would probably be my preferred way of like sticky notes. Or you could have a giant idea board. I don't know if I would do a whiteboard, but maybe, or if you just had one whiteboard where you just wrote things down and you could erase them as you felt like the time to honor them was over and you're going to release them. That could be very interesting. I also love a whiteboard. So as a reminder, Whatever you do, I really think you're going to want to write it down or have some way to keep track of it because it honors the ideas that come to us. And I feel like when we honor the ideas, we get more. We receive more. Like it's an abundance. We have an abundance of them always coming, especially when we honor their presence. Ultimately, whatever you do, make it feel like a playground and not like a filing cabinet, unless you like the organization of a filing cabinet, and then in the which that would be your playground. I love the idea of an idea playground. Like, what are you going to grab? What are you going to collect? Like, work on this time. Ooh, I want to go there. Like, I love thinking of things as fun. Like, oh, the idea, it's ready. Okay, so speaking of that, how do you know when something's ready? How do you know when to act on an idea? So for me, I will have a time weekly or maybe every few weeks that I go into my someday maybe list. I do a weekly review. And every so often I will go into my someday maybe list and just look at them and just look at all the ideas and the someday maybe things that I've thought about. Someday maybe I might do this. It's all in there. For me, it's more of an emotional clarity. It like hits me to my core. I can go, oh, that one. I can look at an idea and go, nope, easy. That's a pass for now. And then one will, it's like almost like the words will jump out. It's a knowing. It's not thinking with your head. It's thinking with your heart. It's like a knowing, internal knowing, or even like a resonance, like what is attracting me, or like what am I being magnetized to? If we thought about it in Rick Rubin's way, which is, let me just look and see what he said. Okay. He said, if we thought of the universe as a constant broadcast of ideas and the artist is a radio, our job is to tune in and translate. And I think that includes after the ideas come to us and we're looking at them or we're thinking about them purposefully. What are we tuning into? What feels right? What feels like an energy match or a frequency match for me right now? If you're a musician and you've ever tuned to someone else, you know what that sounds like. If you've ever listened to like an orchestra tuning together, then when they play that A, the waves of the frequency all cycle together when they're all in tune. It's magical. And I will feel that when I'm like, oh, that one's calling to me. I will put it on my calendar because I don't want to get distracted from my review. I will put it right then on my calendar to look it over and make an actual decision about it. It feels like this is time to explore for real. And I'll put that in my calendar somewhere to spend an hour maybe working on or considering, researching. Sometimes the yes is a really easy one, like, okay, yes, now we go. So I move it out of my someday maybe list into my active projects. This is how organized I am now. And I'm like, okay, what's the very next small step that needs to happen here? And then I will put that on my calendar. If it's an immediate, absolute yes. So that will go on my calendar. I'm just telling you what it looks like for me, not what you should do. So here's some questions that you can ask yourself when you're looking at your ideas or you're considering if you would like to act on an idea. You can ask, does this idea energize or drain me right now? I'm going to guess if it feels draining, you might want to pause on it. I'm not saying don't do it, but it might be a right now or not yet. Not a hard no, but like, I'm not ready. Another question is this an idea to work on now, for now? Or is it just for me? Was it just for me to have the idea? I think some ideas are like that. I think some ideas I never create or work out because those spark new ideas that I do want to work on or bring into existence. And to go along with the energizing or draining idea, another question is, can I serve this idea with presence? can you be fully committed to the idea? How much energy can you give to it? Will you feel scattered if you worked on it? Or can you be fully present if you added it in? Here's a few other questions. And these are ones that I like to ask when I'm creating very intentionally, which I love to do always. Is it aligned with the kind of world that I'm creating? Will acting on this idea move me into the energy that I want to be living in? So if I think about what is it that I want to be happening in my life, or how do I want to be feeling? Does this idea align with those? I'm using what I am creating on purpose, the life I'm creating on purpose, how I want to feel, the things I want to do, what I want it to be like, as a filter for any idea that comes to me. And also, does it feel ready? Does the idea feel ready, or does it need more time to rest and wait, to sit, to compost? Maybe it's not quite time. So I talked about my own personal weekly review. It's a ritual, and I'm going to suggest that you pause like maybe every so often, once a month, once a week, and just ask what's ready or what's next. It doesn't even have to be on a regular basis. It could be after you're finished with something. I suspect that for a lot of us, it's kind of natural when we're finished creating something, we naturally want to fill the time. And so if you feel that way, I'm going to suggest you go ahead and ask and see what comes up next. And also give yourself time to do nothing, to be in the indulgence of the nothingness and of just the having of the finished project, even if it's just for a little while. Okay, so I like to be super productive. And I will easily get caught up in okay, that one's finished. Okay, what's next? Without enjoying the finishing of the thing before we move on to what's next, or the next idea, or we're waiting for the next idea. One thing I wanted to touch on here is what happens when you feel like ideas aren't coming to you. And I'm going to suggest just allowing the no ideas. That may be the universe's way of saying, hey, you have enough, or the timing isn't ready yet. And maybe I'll talk about that more on a future episode, but there's always a great reason why we don't feel like we're full of ideas. And I believe it's fine. It's okay. I love to give myself permission to just be in what I'm doing and not have all the ideas coming to me. Sometimes a lot of ideas can feel like a burden if we're not kind of careful about it, I just wanted to mention that if you were listening to this and you're like, okay, but I don't have all the ideas coming, they will come, and now might not be the time. You might want to just allow the space of little to zero ideas coming to you and enjoy it and learn to embrace this time of being in the void. Okay, I will do an episode about what it's like to be in the void. I'll do that one later. Okay, I want to wrap this up, and here's what I want to say. You don't need to act on every single idea that comes to you. But I do believe that every idea deserves a safe place to land, especially if it comes to you. It wants to be honored. The ideas, they came to you maybe not necessarily for a reason, but because you're fertile ground for them. Give them space. Honor their presence. I'm going to encourage you right now. Here's my little challenge to you is if you don't have a space to write them down or collect them in some way, that you do that. Have an idea journal, whatever it is, okay? And you could just grab sticky notes and write your most recent ideas, one on each sticky note, or wherever it is. I love sticky notes. Okay, or wherever it is. So Write the ones that came to you. And so you'll be ready for the next ones. You'll have a place for them. And then look at any of those ideas and see if it's time for any of them. If it's not, you can wait. If it is, what is one next small action, like the tiniest action, that you can take toward exploring it, towards creating it? Because ultimately, this is how we create everything, which is we get an idea, we explore it, we make a powerful decision to move forward on it, and we create it using a series of small steps. So in order to create it, we want to decide what the next smallest step is. Like, that's huge momentum. Again, only if you feel it's time. Here's my ending encouragement. Ideas are how creativity speaks to you, and listening is the start of the conversation. You don't need to act on every one, but give every idea a safe place to land. All right, that's it for today. I just want to mention something. If you want to interact with me, you can find this podcast on Patreon. It's The Complete Creative. And you can actually find each episode and then you can comment on them. So if you would like to do that, go ahead. I would love to interact with you. Or you can find me on Instagram at Creative Minds Coach. And I usually post about each episode and you can message me there. So like if something about this episode resonated with you, I would love to hear about it. All right, that's it. I am off to finish the rest of my day now that this idea has been created. Talk to you next time. Bye.